So the next time some asshole says, gee, I have a right to my opinion, you say, oh yeah, well I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion.
It's not often I directly respond to people through the medium of this show, but then again, it's also not often I have to deal with quite this level of self-created delusion. Early in June, Voice of Reason had a video talking about his favorite of his own videos, and the entirety of number 6 is dedicated to reading out a rather long YouTube comment that is so courteous as to highlight every single piece of absolute nonsense that has ever been said about me or my work. So I'm gonna play it for you now, and we're gonna deconstruct this entire thing.
Nearly 3 years later, we get Lily Pete making a video on how Stranger Than Fanfiction stuck, despite it being Voice of Reason's new favorite episode, and saying that you shouldn't bother sharing opinions if they're not as well thought out as others. I didn't like that video for a number of reasons. Firstly, Lily seemed to be acting all authoritarian about what counts as a quibble and what doesn't. She called out analysts like Silverquill, Josh Scorcher, and even Voice of Reason himself for complaining about the main six's behavior in Mysterious Meridowell, labeling all their complaints as she listed as quibble, while saying that her complaints towards episodes like Do Princesses Dream of Magic Sheep were valid because of the subject matter. She also said that if she proclaimed that Gauntlet of Fire was great because of the themes explored, while someone else thought it was great because of the character Ember, those two opinions did not deserve to be respected equally because they didn't focus on topics that were, quote, as important as each other. I urge you readers not to use Lily's advice and make your own opinions based on whatever you want, and try to respect and understand the opinions of others. When it comes down to entertainment, there are no laws that say what you have to focus on when critiquing something. What's important to one person may not be as important to someone else. The fact that Lily is so obligatory about this with her level of finality comes across to me as if she's saying, don't bother sharing your opinion because only what someone who is the most articulate in their explanation thinks is important. In other words, herself. I mean, you have to remember that the target demographic is children who usually don't go into so much detail on why they like or don't like certain things, and they may base their opinions on small details rather than complex themes like Lily does. For example, if Patton Oswalt's daughter said that she loves Stranger Than Fanfiction because, quote, her daddy is a pony who becomes friends with Rainbow Dash, and Lily Pete went up to her and told her that her opinion was wrong and that episode sucked because Lily's reasons were far more thought out, other people would see that as completely disparaging. So, remember, share your opinions openly and respect others, especially those you disagree with, and talk to each other about them so you can understand each other better. If you go to Lily Pete's Basebreaker video after this, please don't feel that you have to use her advice as she tells you, regardless of how right she might think she is. Use Voice of Reason's advice from this video, and don't be afraid of expressing your individuality. Honestly, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Holy mother of God, that's a lot of bullshit to unpack. Put on some coffee, kids, we're gonna be here for a while. Speaking of videos that we're personally proud of, Basebreaker is one of my own personal favorite videos, discussing a nasty bugbear I have with fandom discourse, and that is the false balance of opinions. The unwritten rule of the internet that says that somebody taking great care to have an informed opinion is to be considered on an equal playing field with someone spewing out the first thing that comes to their mind. This is highlighted in the differences between what Quibblepants spits out at the start of the episode as opposed to what he spits out at the end of the episode.
The first series was smart and cool and an amazing nod to old-time serialized adventure books that somehow manages to be self-reflexive and ironic while at the same time celebrating the art form without a hint of cynicism. Which is why I came here to ask A.K. Yearling, muzzle to muzzle, why she sold out and dumbed down the rest of her books and into just a series of impossible action sequences.
That's a lot of fancy jargon, but if you actually look at the dialogue beyond a surface level, you'll quickly realize that he said nothing. He says a lot of words, but it's a lot of conclusions without anything giving context to what's being said. He's not actually describing the merits of the original Daring Do books, he's waffling. In fact, here's a more accurate version of what Quibblepants just said.
You said you had plenty of places to go.
At the end of the episode, Quibblepants does what he should have done at the start. He actually explained himself by talking about the fact that the original books were akin to Sherlock Holmes, while later books were akin to Indiana Jones, and the latter don't allow him to engage his brain in a manner he finds enjoyable. That is a more nuanced opinion that recognizes the concept of differing genres and expressing frustration that a series that used to be the former has now become the latter. I use this episode as a jumping off point to discuss the concept of fandom discourse and how it always grinds to a halt once two people have to actually go head to head. Fandom discourse is full of self-contradictory phrases that people love to say a lot but don't actually adhere to. Chief among them is, "I respect your opinion even though I disagree with it." This is an oxymoron. If you disagree with someone's opinion, then by definition you think that opinion is wrong in some way, and that the other person is wrong for holding it. That's how a discussion starts, with two people trying to convince the other to change their opinions. The fact that you are having the discussion at all is proof that you do not in fact respect their opinions. And here's the kicker, that's okay. They may dress it up with pretty words about respecting opinions, but if that were true, then they wouldn't have started the discussion in the first place. In fact, the mere existence of this wall of text is proof that the person who wrote it, and by extension voice of reason himself, don't actually believe what they're saying. They're saying it because it sounds correct. The notion that I don't respect opinions that disagree with my own is the most common non-criticism I ever get, and it comes from two places. One, when I present an opinion, I do so with the confidence that my opinion is right. It goes without saying, doesn't it? I wouldn't have the opinion if I didn't think it was right, and if I held an opinion and simultaneously didn't believe that opinion to be a correct one, I would reevaluate my opinion and change it in order to be right. That's what a smart person does. Hell, that's what a moderately intelligent person does. As a result, my videos present themselves with the confidence of a singular voice. 2. I do not pepper my videos with assurances that this is only my opinion, and I don't do this because I expect my audience to behave like adults. And if you're upset, or even just annoyed by that, bear with me, because I want to walk you through something. I assume, against the multiple times that I've been shown otherwise, that you watching this video right now are not a toddler, that you are a functioning adult or teenager, and I expect you to conduct yourself like one. This means that I assume you aren't going to throw a shit fit if you hear someone tell you that you're wrong. That is a level of respect that most YouTubers do not give their audience, and I can prove it. Here's Sketchy the Changeling opening a video talking about how he didn't like Pinkie Pie with a mountain of reassurances and throwing shade at tantrums that clearly haven't happened yet at the time he recorded it.
Oh god. Man, I've been having those weird visions ever since I started scripting this video. Oh well, better get it over with. So prepare your jimmies, folks, because I'm about to explain why I do not like Pinkie Pie. Before I get started though, I want to make a few things known. First of all, this is not going to be a video about me bitching and moaning about why I don't like Pinkie. It wouldn't be fair to you guys if I just made a video about me ranting and raving about why I don't like something, so I'm not going to do that to you. Also, I don't think that my opinions would hold much value if I didn't present them in a rational manner. Secondly, this is not going to be an attack on the Pinkie Pie fans either. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion about how they feel about a character. They are just cartoon characters after all. So while I know a lot of people may not agree with me on this, hopefully you'll be able to at least respect my opinion. And I'm sure that there are going to be some people who will ignore this message and proceed to dislike and give me hate comments, but such is life. Besides, if I do get a lot of hate comments, I always have this.
This is an overwhelmingly common bit used among mountains of YouTubers of all shapes and sizes. I'm about to say something unconventional. Looks like I have to expect hate from the perpetually triggered who hate hearing people say things they disagree with. I don't need to show you any more examples because you've already seen them before. Jokes about people grabbing the torches, an ocean of guns pointed in the creator's face, the need for a flame shield, or some other worn-out joke about defending themselves from a mob. These are all extremely common cliches among a lot of YouTubers, and they all carry the same message. Hey you in the audience, this is you. This is what we think of you. It speaks volumes of how little you think of your own audience. The very people who are often giving you money, that you feel the need to prefix everything you say with a mountain of qualifiers and reassurances. This is not establishing that what you're saying is only your opinion. This is being a condescending little shit, because the fact that it's only your opinion went without saying. I've never done that. I've talked about internet outrage, often pointing out that some of the people who engage in this game of psychological projection are just as easily offended as the people they they imagine. But I've never preceded a video by throwing shade at my own audience and assuming they lack the basic critical thinking skills to listen to an essay that contradicts their opinion and not be able to handle it like a grown-up. Being told that your opinion is wrong, or badly thought out, or shallow is the most trivial thing anybody will ever have to deal with. And ironically, a lot of people will basically lose their shit if you imply that your own opinion is better than theirs. But being told you're wrong is a fact of life, and you can either fold your arms and sulk that someone dared contradict you, or you can do what I'm doing right now and use your brain and defend your opinion. This is where we get into what I think is the crown jewel of the piece, where Voice says, "I urge you readers to not use Lily's advice and make your opinions based on whatever you want." Voice seems to be laboring under the impression that I'm telling people they're not allowed to have their opinions. Again, this is a very common form of intellectual dishonesty. I have never once told people they're not allowed to have their opinions, unless their opinions are that other people shouldn't get the same rights and freedoms as they do. What I've actually done is demonstrate the difference between a shallow opinion and a nuanced opinion, pointing out in detail where the two differ. Whether or not you're entitled to your opinion is completely irrelevant. Your right to your own opinion or your individuality is not what is being questioned, and to continue to assert such a thing is a red herring. The fact that you're entitled to your opinion does not make your opinion informed, nuanced, or thoughtful. It just means you're allowed to have your opinion regardless of how stupid or wrong it may be. For example, you're entitled to believe that vaccinations cause autism. You're also a fucking idiot for believing that, because those two facts are independent of one another. Or to put it in simpler terms, Voice of Reason is full of shit. He's entitled to be full of shit, but he's still full of shit. What I've actually done is tell people to elaborate on their opinions, give more details on why they think an episode is good or bad. Gauntlet of Fire is good because Ember is a sun-dried tomato is a faulty premise, because the actual conclusion you should be coming to is that Ember is a good character because she's a sun-dried tomato. Ember being a good character says nothing about the story or the other characters, it just says one thing about this one character. An episode is built out of more moving parts than that. But you can totally have the opinion that Gauntlet of Fire is good because this one character has this one trait. I'm not saying you're not allowed to have that opinion. What I am saying is that you shouldn't try to engage a professional critic in a discussion about the episode if that's the only string to your bow. Remember, this kind of discourse is literally my job, so I have to take this seriously at times. Case in point, when Voice offered this rather despicable example.
For example, if Patton Oswalt's daughter said that she loves Stranger Than fan fiction because, quote, her daddy is a pony who becomes friends with Rainbow Dash, and Lily Pete went up to her and told her that her opinion was wrong and that episode sucked because Lily's reasons were far more thought out, other people would see that as completely disparaging. So remember, share your opinions openly and respect others.
Now, I will offer Voice some credit. He did skip over the line, probably even child cruelty. I can only assume he does this because he realized the exact same thing that I'm about to tell you. Do you honestly think that I would engage in a discussion with a small child in the same manner I engage in discussion with grown fucking adults? I know it's popular among the permanently uneducated and the criminally lazy to pretend that I'm some kind of absolutist ideologue who stamps down on dissent in a manner so cartoonishly fascist that not even an actual fascist would behave that way, but are there people out there so devoid of nuance, so black and white, so wrapped up in that delusion that they think I'm incapable of approaching a child presenting a shallow opinion offhandedly in a manner different from an adult presenting a shallow and fantastical opinion in a manner that is expected to be taken seriously? I can't buy that, because if I believe this kind of nonsense, then I have to believe that my own viewer base has all the reading comprehension of a baked potato, the intellectual capacity of a corpse, and I respect my own audience too much for that. Ultimately, what we're dealing with here is people who hate being told they're wrong, and whose opinions are so underdeveloped that they can't defend them when put to the task. And you know what? Tough shit. People get told they're wrong all the damn time and the world doesn't end. Nobody's forcing you to have discussions. Nobody's forcing you to engage with contradictory opinions. And anybody who tells you that you're obligated to give a platform to dissenting opinions is completely full of shit. But when you start the argument, lose the argument because you haven't developed your critical thinking skills, and then turn around and try to paint the person who engaged with you as intolerant of different opinions, you are being intellectually dishonest. Because that is how someone behaves when they can't handle hearing opinions that differ from theirs. On a surface level, respect everyone's opinion sounds reasonable. But when you really dig into the meat of how these sort of people behave and the mental gymnastics they go through, you quickly realize that what they actually mean is don't contradict me. In much the same way that conservative pundits who ramble about how young people these days need to get a thicker skin often themselves have skin like tissue paper. This kind of nonsense is the ramblings of someone who wants to be part of a conversation but refuses to let anyone else have the floor. It's the attitude of giving your opinion in a public setting purely for the sake of expressing your opinion and then expecting nobody to make an actual rebuttal. And once again, tough shit. This is the kind of attitude I want to kill by encouraging people to get better. Get better at having discussions. Think more critically about the things you consume. Develop and explore your opinions beyond a surface level into something more nuanced that actually has some discussion value to it. As I said in Basebreaker, why should anybody respect your opinion when you don't respect your own opinion enough to put any effort into it? I've been wanting to make this video for a while. Voice of Reason just happened to provide the perfect summary of everything wrong with fandom discourse that the pages just started shooting out of me. And there's a good chance that Voice and the person who wrote that spiel are going to see this video, and they're going to ignore all the detailed explanations of my position and my actual goals in this job, and laser focus on the fact that I told someone that they're wrong because that's what they do. I can't inoculate them against their own bad habits. I've tried, and they and everyone like them has stubbornly refused every opportunity to learn how to properly engage in these kind of discussions. But I can inoculate the rest of you. If you take anything from this video, let it be this. Whenever you hear somebody say that some person hates them for having different opinions or just hates different opinions in general, always demand that they elaborate. Because that line is a red flag that there are important elements of that story that they are deliberately not telling you. Either they said something stupid and got rightfully called out on it, or they lost the discussion and they're clearly making up bullshit to save face. Nobody is so cartoonishly fascist that they hate other opinions purely on the basis that they disagree. The actual disagreements and the manner in which it was held are extremely important, and if they refuse to elaborate, you should refuse to engage with the discussion any further because they're doing nothing but wasting your time, and more importantly, mine.